I really don't like making these response videos because a lot of times the originals are full of straw men, assumptions, and just outright fabrications. Honestly, it's all been said before. Numerous MGTOW have been debunking Tradcon ideas over and over again for years. Originally, I commented on Turd Flinging Monkey's video in good faith. I was genuinely perplexed by some of his positions. I wanted him to clarify for my own understanding alone. He ended up doing an entire video on my comments, to which I further asked him questions in the comments section. Many see me as a troll. Troll has become a dismissive in MGTOW circles and the internet in general to anyone that challenges a presented idea. There were many things Turd Flinging Monkey said that were just flat out wrong assumptions and straw men. In doing this video, I don't want to waste time nitpicking, so I'll just get right to the most important point. Turd Flinging Monkey said my ideas were dangerous. I asked, to whom are my ideas dangerous? Men or women? And in what way? The manosphere is always going on about how women are more valuable than men because women are the limiting factor in reproduction. In the last 2 centuries alone, we went from 1 billion to 8 billion people on Earth. Humans are living longer and better now than ever before in history. Humanity could literally go the next 30 years without having a single baby and still survive. Even without reproductive technology like the artificial womb, the golden uterus does not have the same market value as it did hundreds of years ago. Gone are the days of children performing manual labor on a farm. If anything, children have become a massive liability in an age when technical skills are in demand and legal regulations keep them out of most of the job market. Making women dependent on men again is not going to happen. Women only need men for reproduction in this mechanized, digitized age. I'm not a utopian and I'm not a leftist. While I agree that full equality between men and women is impractical and probably not going to happen, going back to some sort of patriarchy or soft patriarchy is not going to happen either. At this point, thinking we can somehow change society from the bottom up through a collapse is itself utopian. It would take a nuclear war to go back to some sort of pre-industrial patriarchy, at which point the entire cycle would begin again. This has been said before numerous times in other MGTOW videos. As men, the only practical thing we can do is abolish the obligations of men to women and to society. How far we can go with this, we cannot know. Nobody has a blueprint of the future. Turd Flinging Monkey seems to think doing such a thing would be a disaster for women and therefore society and men as well. He seems to think it is better to keep men expendable and to just make women dependent on men again. For the most part, women do not need men for basic survival in this age. Any woman can get a job. There's no need to chop down firewood, hunt food, and till the land with our bare hands. The only thing women need men for is reproduction. If men and women were actually treated equally before the law, women would lose all the advantages they currently have from being the limiting factor in reproduction. Chances are most would have to change their behavior, even on a superficial level. They would be forced to. However, I seriously doubt most women would die without men to support them. But reproduction would decline further than it already has. This does not mean humanity will die off. At our current level of technological development, we're not going to go extinct. At one point, humans numbered in the tens of thousands and were armed only with primitive technology. I find it hard to believe that a few million of us on Earth, armed with our current level of technology, would fall prey to nature, the elements, and natural predators. Humans destroyed all of our natural predators, diseases aside, thousands of years ago. The greatest predator to human beings in this day and age is other human beings. If anything, it is overpopulation that would lead to some sort of extinction event, such as a nuclear war or some sort of super pandemic. In the event that the West declines in population, we're not going to be militarily invaded by more traditionalist third world baby-making countries. Such countries do not have the manpower or the resources to seize and hold territory in nations more developed than themselves. Such third world countries themselves are undergoing a process of mechanization, which is challenging the social mores of their societies. It is exactly for such reasons that reactionary movements like Islamic fundamentalism are growing even in Western societies. Islamic fundamentalism is an attempt to use violence and political repression to cling to forms of social organization that have been made obsolete by technology. Islam aside, most immigrants assimilate to first world countries within a generation or two. If society were suddenly to relieve men of their obligations, I find it hard to believe that male immigrants would come to the West and cling to their traditional obligations generation after generation. Even if birth replacement rates were to drop even further with some sort of male liberation, I find it hard to believe that traditionalists from third world countries would conquer the West with babies that carry their own traditionalist ideas. Hardcore religionists aside, most people choose modernity over traditionalism. The only exception is Islam, because it's so fundamentally alien to Western culture and so regressively traditionalist. Even with Islam, I find it hard to believe that Muslims will somehow conquer the West. We live in the internet age. Religion is on the decline. Average Western men are not going to convert in droves to a religion completely outside their culture that places massive restrictions and obligations upon them. To be sure, Islamic immigration to the West is a problem, but it is never going to conquer the West. In short, pursuing male liberation will not lead to some disaster for mankind simply because of reproductive decline. I find it hard to believe that men will cease being productive members of society simply because they have no family to look after. Men collectively have a vested interest in maintaining civilization because they collectively benefit from civilization. Most of the most inventive and creative men throughout history left behind no children. They were bachelors. I'm not sure what your fear of human extinction is anyway. Aside from a major sudden catastrophe, extinction would likely take hundreds of years of population decline. Chances are you will be dead in 100 years, long before any extinction. Even if extinction happened in the next 10 years, what do you care? You could be hit by a bus tomorrow. Once you're dead, you're dead. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. 99% of all life that ever existed is extinct anyway. Humans have no purpose in this universe. Life itself has no purpose. It is just a struggle to survive. To a certain extent, morality is subjective. Value systems are nothing more than preferences. The only constant in life is suffering and death. All we can choose is how and to what degree we suffer. As a society, all we can do is diminish the amount of suffering and make life easier. That is all civilization is. Civilization doesn't get rid of suffering and death. Even with all our laws and social mores, there's still murder, disease, and war. Civilization is just a social construct to make our lives less miserable and a little bit more convenient. I'm not interested in being a utility to women or anyone. I put myself first. Unfortunately, society looks down upon male selfishness. In the long run, the only way men are going to live for themselves is to be pro-male. The female collective is not going to allow men to just do their own thing on their own terms. Nobody has the answers, and utopian visions never work in the long run. But thinking we can go back to some mythic time in history is just as utopian and ultimately foolish.